Hey, podcaster. I'm Tim Wahlberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can sound like a pro and gain more podcast fans. Today's tip is all about pivoting your podcast. So there you are, week in, week out, pumping out podcast episodes, spending lots of time and money, but you're not quite seeing the results you thought you'd see. A classic. We all had high expectations going into podcasting. A few of you have gotten decent success out of the gate and have grown your show into something that your audience wants and loves. But most podcasters find themselves questioning why they started it in the first place. If you're 10 or 15 episodes in, come on, I've told you this, podcasting is the long game. If you're getting up to 30, 50, 75 or more episodes, then you might be suffering from podcast burnout, and you might need to listen to episode 66 of Just the Tip. I give you 3 options of what you can do. One of them is to give your show a makeover. This might mean you tweak the format a little, freshen up your music, publish only twice a month, or bring on a co-host. This is different from a podcast pivot. So what does a pivot look like? It could mean a complete name change or at least partial name change. Maybe it's an added tagline to an established brand. Your artwork should change. You'll probably adjust the format of your show a little to give it a different feel. And you would definitely change the focus of your content. Now let's be clear, you're not changing the topic of your show because that would mean starting a brand new podcast. You're working with something worth saving here. You're just taking your show in a new direction. All right? In the world of business, companies pivot all the time. They evolve constantly to keep up with trends. They shift practices depending on their customers' needs and wants, because if they don't, they'll die. If you're a hobby podcaster and you've lost that love and feeling and dread recording your next episode, then pivot.
Here we go, pivot, 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 pivot.
Change things. You're really doing your show for you anyway. You want to be excited about it, so do what it takes to make yourself look forward again to podcasting. If you're podcasting for your business and you're seeing low downloads, that doesn't necessarily mean you should pivot. Just listen to my last episode about KPIs, your key performance indicators. You might just need to change what you're asking your audience to do through your call to action. The number one reason you would pivot your podcast is because it may be attracting the wrong audience. You might not be attracting your ideal customer. Podcasters are doing it all the time. Big name podcasters have pivoted and evolved to grow their show. They've learned this by putting in the time. You need to be doing this for a while to find your sweet spot. Recently, someone I work with decided to niche down for this exact reason. She realized she could have a bigger impact on a smaller portion of her audience. We talked about this and what this could mean. She'll likely lose some listeners because of the shift, but they weren't her customers anyway. They were never going to hire her anyway. With this pivot or shift, she's essentially becoming a bigger fish in a smaller pond, allowing her to serve her target audience more significantly. Another example comes from a podcaster I worked with years ago who had very good success with her show, but over the past few years found herself getting squeezed out because of other bigger names in her field with more money. And I'm talking about the powerful broadcast promotional machine with endless resources behind them. But at the same time, she was seeing opportunities arise through a small sector of her niche that was demanding more. Luckily, this was a portion of her audience she could own, so she changed the name of her podcast to reflect the change. She's now primarily serving the Hispanic community, which is a space that those big players can't touch. And she's grown even more since that pivot, is able to serve that audience better, and actually has less competition. Another reason to pivot your podcast is because your business has changed or evolved. Your podcast should align with your business. Your KPIs should align with your call to action. This still might mean you don't get the download numbers you're looking for, but you may start to see a different level of engagement because you're now attracting the right audience. They're finding you more easily because you are more clear with your messaging. Again, don't get obsessed with your numbers. It's not always about the numbers. It's about engagement. This is a big decision that takes a lot of thought and work. So if you're thinking of a podcast pivot, step back, have a look at the bigger picture. Here are a couple of questions to ask yourself. Could you be attracting the wrong audience with your existing show? Is your podcast aligned with your business? Step back even more. What is the purpose of your podcast and what do you want it to do for your business? Can you be serving a portion of your current audience better somehow? After putting some real thought into this and you think a podcast pivot makes sense, ask yourself, are you prepared to pivot properly? Do you have time and are you willing to put in the work to reinvent your show with a plan in place? If the answer is yes, then you'll want to listen to my next episode. We just talked about the why. Next time, we're going to talk about the how. How to pivot with intent so you start getting the results you want out of your show. And I hope that's just the tip you need. If you need some help with this process, let me help you through it. We can get a lot done in 15 minutes. If you're looking for some clarity around your podcast, book your free 15-minute coaching call today and let's start getting the results you want out of your show. Book it now at podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Wolbert. See ya!